Under 3 on page 2, the parish council as the governing authority of the parish sits as a board of review and certifies the tax roll for all taxing districts in the parish as prepared and presented by the assessor. So any governmental entity that has a millage, you are the one that has to sit as a board of review and then certify the tax roll. The main object of this, I mean, it's more than this, but the main object is to have a public hearing. So anybody that's assessed a millage, if they want to appeal the amount, then they would have to come to the council, and you would have to vote on whether they would or not. And then it ends, it's parish-wide. Our millage is parish-wide. And then followed by the lighting districts and the other subdivisions districts that you created. And then starting towards the bottom with Brookstone subdivision, that's a road infrastructure district, and there's 8 of them that are ready to be put on the tax rolls as of this date. And they are being assessed 15 mills. And they're subject to how much you will have to call in 2021, and that's the parish health unit millage. And then the ones that are expired in 2020, they were supposed to be in the spring, but they've been they've been delayed till sometimes in August and July. I think some are in July and some are in August. And you can see anyone with 2020s, that's what we're talking about. That's just information. And then those subdivisions continue on 3. They have 4 more. And just as a note, all millages are 10 years except for the constitutional millage for the general fund. The Utilities District Number 1, ACUD, is for 25 years, and the juvenile detention millage is for 20 years, and also the road infrastructure districts. I don't know how many years they're for. Facts. Justin would know that. And under the facts on page 3, it's just ad valorem. What does that mean? It's according to value. Taxes are assessed a dollar amount according to property values. And 1 mill equals 1/10 of 1 cent or $1 per 1,000 of assessed value. And in 2020, 1 mill parish-wide is expected to yield $1,446,922. Then all taxes are subject to homestead exemption. The 2.74 general fund ad valorem tax within the city limits reduces to half, which is 1.37 mills. And then the taxable value equals the fair market value less homestead exemption. And property is assessed in 3 categories. The first one is real property. That means land and immovables, and all land is 10% of fair market value, and residential buildings is assessed at 10% of fair market value, and commercial buildings at 15%. And the second category is personal property, and that would include movables like equipment, furniture, inventory. They're assessed at 15% of fair market value. And then the third one is a public service property, our utilities. They're assessed at 25% of fair market value, and they're not assessed locally. They're assessed by the Louisiana Tax Commission. And then there's 3 types of ad valorem millages at the bottom of page 3. You have your constitutional millages. That's millages authorized by the state constitution, and that would be our general fund millage. And then there's statutory millages. That's millages that are authorized by the legislature to be levied by a taxing authority. And we have the 1 mill juvenile detention millage. And then the voter-approved millages. These millages are authorized the majority of the electorate in the taxing district, and that includes all the rest of our parish millages. And then on page 4, this is the ordinance number 1. This is one that you have to adopt, and you have to adopt it by majority of the council. And that's what was reassessed by the assessor. So all of this has to be considered and adopted. And all, again, are homestead exempt. Then after that, you'll have another public hearing, and this would be ordinance number 2. This would be if you consider rolling forward. You have to repeat the 2020 millage in one, under the first 2020 millage column in the middle. And then we want to levy all this, and what we did is just bring forth the roll forward where appropriate, and then you would probably vote. Last year, y'all voted one at a time. You know, whatever process you choose, you would have to vote, and then we would redo. If you did roll forward some and not others, or none, we would, if none, we would have the same millage as 2020. Middle column. And then on the next page, this came from Justin at the assessor's office. This is the figures we got that he adjusted. And you can see first is 2019 millage, just looking at the revenue it levied. And then the goal in the middle is the 2020 adjusted millage rate set by the assessor. So that's ordinance number 1, that column. And then he shows you the revenue derived from that. And then the kind of pinkish color is if you choose to roll forward. He's taken the millage and the roll forward millage, like in the first one is the parish tax. It went from 274, or would go from 274 to 2.77 mils. And then he's showing you the revenue that it would produce to roll forward on that particular one, and then the increase. And he does it for each one all the way down. And the total amount of increase for all of them, if you happen to roll forward on all of them, would be additional $467,753. And like I said, you don't have to roll forward all of them. You don't have to roll forward any of them, but you can pick and choose if you so desire. And there's a few that, you know, like ACUDs didn't change. It went, you know, there's no roll forward. It's 10.31 and the same figure for the roll forward rate. There's not too many that are the same, and some, you know, are minor. But anyway, you need to consider. And the other page, on page 10, this is just a process for you to sit as a board to review just for your information. And then the other 3 pages are the laws that deal with property taxes. So therefore, if you have any questions, either I or Justin will be glad to answer.
Gwen, thank you so much for that review. And what I'll do is encourage especially the new council members to study this document. If you have any questions, certainly call Gwen, and her staff will be more than happy to bring you in and brief you on all this. 4 years ago, I was a little bit lost because I moved from the city government to the parish government. It was a much bigger picture. So I encourage all of you to look through this, and if you have any questions, certainly give them a call. And I think, Gwen, the voting on this will be sometime in the August time frame?
The first meeting.
The first meeting, the first hearing? Okay. Any questions? Councilman Lawler?
Yes, Justin, I'm going to call you because I know we're going to have questions for you later on a different subject. But before we get to that, you and I have talked about some things that the assessor's office can do to help residents, business owners that have been affected by the COVID-19. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because y'all are doing some good things for them.
Yeah, we've actually already had some conversations with a couple of hotel owners in the area. And one of the items that we have is that, okay, if you were shut down with the COVID-19 situation, obviously there was a loss in, there's an economic obsolescence situation where the economy caused, the loss in revenue, loss in business. There's ways that we can actually look at that in the value of your property as as a way to do that reduction. But we obviously at that point, we ask that small business owners contact our office. We're going to ask you to provide us some information, some financial documentation to show, that type of impact. And that will give us an opportunity in that situation in order to, try to gauge how we can help them based upon the information they provide. So it is a way that we can help our local businesses. We'll be glad to do that and meet with every one of them. We definitely, say we've already had a couple have already reached out to us, and they're waiting to get their financials together, to set up a meeting. So we're an open door. Contact us anytime. We'd be glad to do it. As far as the millage rates go and the questions you may have regarding that too, Mert and I are open to meet anytime with y'all, if y'all have any, if you want to just go over it and look at it. I know Gwen and Cinnamon, they do a tremendous job with it all the time, and I know Cinnamon always gets a little nervous because it's a very detailed process in order to do a lot of the legwork that people overlook a lot of times. But I will say, thank you, Gwen, Cinnamon, y'all both do a great job with everything, so, with making sure to try to get everything lined out for y'all, so. There's a lot of calls and a lot of emails that goes into this.
I
Thank
think
you,
you
Justin.
help us more than we help you.
Yeah, I hope our business owners can take advantage of that, because I know a lot of people have been affected, and anything we can do to keep them afloat is great for the parish.
Councilwoman Kazak.
Where'd you go?
You might want to stay up there for a while.
No, I wouldn't think so. But we just had early on in our, after this happened, we had some discussions about economic obsolescence. I'm so proud of myself for being able to say that word. It certainly wasn't something I could get out the first couple of times you mentioned it to me. But I do want to clarify with you that, let's say you've had a couple of hotel owners who are politically savvy enough to know that they need to call their
Right.
assessor's office. What happens to our businesses in our community that just don't know that's even an option for them? I mean, this is not a widely watched TV thing, although I can't imagine why not.
Yeah.
And so, how does your office better convey to local businesses that economic obsolescence is a thing, and that they might ought to call their assessor and see if there was some help for them?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, as far as outreach goes. I think at the end of the day, we kind of decided it was easier to take it on a case-by-case basis because
Sure.
one is just the staff of handling all, because the person that's going to end up, taking all those calls and reviewing is going to be me and probably somebody else, trying to grab the data and get the information and, to look at it. And, without interfering with everybody else's, regular duties in the office. But say we're up to the task, I mean, I don't mind. I always, if I got to work late, I'll work late. So get in early or work early, and to help people out. But it is information that I think is necessary. So maybe it is worth at some point, trying to do a public service announcement of some type, or, out there, to get that information.
Sure.
At least say, look, if you've been impacted, provide us information. But we're going to be looking at a lot of information too. I mean, we're going to want to know, like, did you receive the payment protection, plan? Did you, like, how was those other, because those things were created as a Band-Aid, to reduce, to take that out. And that's a factor to be considered, in other words, that you may have lost revenue for 2 months, but what was the real impact, through it all? And that's the hard part to find.
Sure. So, could we do Channel 21? Could we do the Morning Advocate? Could we really push it out?
Yeah, we'll be
our-
glad to work with council on this and, and the administration, to try to, best get that information out to the public and to provide them an opportunity and a forum to say, look, just contact us. And say, is when I contact them, when I received a contact, just last week, I said, look, give me some financial statements, give me some information, what you got. Let me see what you have. And we kind of go through a little small checklist, with them, and you kind of get the big picture.
So the
Once you
most-
get the big picture, then you can kind of figure out the math of, what that is.
So the most important thing to me is a sense of fair play.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly I want to see us reach out to the public so that they are aware that this exists. And we should do an outstanding job of conveying this to our business community. And then we would feel like we had fairness.
Right.
And certainly we should not have economic obsolescence without fairness.
That's correct.
Because that is just a way to help people that we know and not help people that we don't.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
The right path is always the good path.
Yes.
Thank you, Councilwoman Kazak. Councilman Mason.
Justin, don't leave just yet. I kind of want to piggyback on what Councilwoman Cazzo just said. If you guys could maybe do some kind of a Facebook post, I'm sure the assessor has a Facebook page or something. I mean, I know personally I'd be glad to share it if you put the prereqs of what you guys need before.
Yeah.
So that way we can get that information out to the business owners and say, we do have this economic obsolescence. I said it right. Thank you.
Doing
You
good,
got
man.
it the first
I
time.
was hearing her say it. I was practicing in my head just to make sure. Want to make sure that we can, like she said, I think it's a great opportunity. So, like, if you guys could get us the information that we could maybe put it out there and say, if you are interested in this, have this ready, have this ready, have this ready, and that'll save you guys a step and maybe kind of expedite the process a little bit.
Yeah, no, it sounds good. Well, let me get with Mert, and then we'll sit down and try to formulate the best plan and the best information. I know that he already had a lady in our office already working on it. This is information on what was going on, but we'll try to fine tune it a little bit together and work together to get a joint message out, because I think it's something impactful for the parish. And because look, at the end of the day, we want our small businesses and our people here to be in business and here for a long time operating. So that's very important that we have that. So
Thank you, Justin.
Good positive discussion, Justin, and I want to say maybe share with AEDC for their website, for their Facebook page. Chamber, might
Yep.
be good, that all the small businesses who are chamber members have that information in case they can take advantage of it.
yeah, I mean, we get with Kate, get with Barker. There's no problem.
Good.
We can do all that.
Okay,
Thank you.
Anybody
Any
else
other
before I can go
discussion?
back or not?
I think you can go now, thank
May be
you.
seated.
Thank you, Justin, and thank
Justin.
you, Gwen, for your report. All right, moving along, item C, change order number 2. Oh, excuse me, let me stop and back up. Madam Secretary, I apologize. I skipped the roll call, and let the record show that Councilman Robert, Councilman Lambert, and Councilman Melanson are absent. Everyone else is present. Thank you. Item C, change order number 2 to contract with J. Reed Constructors for the new fire station number 80, Geismar, to include additional rain days of 213 and include a generator for an additional amount of $52,952.
Motion.
The new
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any objection? Any discussions? Motion passes. Item D, substantial completion for fire station number 80, Geismar.
Second.
Motion, second. Motion by Councilman Ogeron, second by Councilwoman Cazo. Any discussion? Any objection? That motion carries. Item E, change order number 1 to contract with J. Reed Contractors Incorporated for the new fire station number 60 at Santamar to include additional rain days of 176 and to include a generator for the additional amount of $52,952. The new contract amount shall not exceed $2,770,552.
Motion.
Second.
Who was that over here? Councilman, what's your own motion? Second by Councilwoman Cazo. Any discussion? Any objection? So ordered. Item F, substantial completion, fire station number 60, Santa Monica. Motion by
Second.
Motion by Councilman Ogeron, second by Councilman Mason. Any discussion? Any objection? So ordered. Item G, change order number 2 to contract with J. Reed Constructors for the new fire station number 20, Sorrento, to include additional rain days of 199 and to include a generator for an additional amount of $52,952. New contract amount shall not exceed $2,682,991.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Mason, second by Councilwoman Cazo. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Item H, substantial completion for fire station number 20, Sorrento.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Mason. Second. Second by Councilman Ogeron. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Item L, memorandum of understanding between Ascension Parish government and the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Assessor's Office for the use of the Clerk of Court facility located at 815 East Worthy Street, Gonzales, upon completion of construction and subsequent relocation of the Clerk of Court operation to the new courthouse. Justin Champlin, Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office, and Assessor's Office. I keep calling him the sheriff. And John Diaz, Parish Administration. Gentlemen? And for those on the council, on the committee, that's in your packet, that MOU.
Yeah. First, I just want to thank y'all for even putting this on the agenda for the night. So just thank you that we can be here. I just want to lay out just some reasons on why, we believe this, memorandum of understanding should be approved, tonight. And a lot of it's just our needs and how we operate, what we actually do at the assessor's office. And I think you'll be maybe surprised at the amount of traffic and what we actually deal with regularly. So I mean, just for from the structural standpoint, that current court building has 14 people in there. That includes the clerk of court, and with 17 workstations. And with the assessor and 14 of his staff members here, including me, we would move to the court building. And so basically, you would have enough space for us to move, but not much more space than what's there. So this would not change at all our Donaldsonville or Prairieville locations. Those would remain the same. This would be a shifting of our space from one space to the next. Our current space has a small waiting area just for a couple people, that come in at a time, and that waiting area is not handicap accessible either. And we usually have to figure out some ways to make accommodations or go meet them out in the hallway, in those situations right now. And but the clerk's building does have a large waiting area. It is a large waiting room. It is handicap accessible. And, but, having those extra couple of spaces, that also allows us in the future to consider maybe some growth, because we've talked about maybe the needs of like a data analyst, some other future items that may be needed for our office. But that would give us growth for room. Now, the International Association of Assessing Officers, or the IAAO, provides guidelines for assessment offices, and for our parcel count and population count, their numbers say we should have 5 more people, but we obviously, we like to work within our means and work more efficiently with what we have, and do the job that we're supposed to do. Now, as far as what we do every day, we have over 57,000 parcels of property that we have on our roll, that we review, that we look at. We have to create plans and processes to do, inspections and stuff. And, our revenue, from our work, it produces revenue for the parish, for the school board, for the sheriff. The total tax revenue that the property taxes generates is $160 million total for the parish. Now, of that, 39 million of that goes to the parish, to parish government specifically. And, so that's, definitely a tremendous amount of work that we do that benefits, the parish directly as a revenue standpoint. Now, as far as our traffic goes, our annual traffic numbers, we will have over 5,000 people that come in person to the office, to all 3 of our offices. Over 60,000 unique visits to our website, over 90,000 property searches on our website, over 250,000 unique visits to our online map annually, and over 600,000 parcel hits on our map annually. And that is, a tremendous amount of traffic and numbers. That's how we reach constantly to the public. And in reassessment years, we do anticipate increases in those numbers because we increase in traffic for obvious reasons. But, in conclusion, I just want to say that, by moving our entire Gonzales office into the court building, you're going to be providing suitable office space for the performance of the assessor's duties. And the ultimate beneficiary will be the citizens of Ascension Parish, to allow us to do business with them and to review with them, like meeting with small business owners that may be impacted. Like meeting with just somebody that's coming in for a mobile home permit, or somebody trying to sign for a homestead exemption. Whether they can do it online, but a lot of people still like to come in person to do their business. And but tonight, we kindly request, on behalf of Mert Smiley, the assessor, that you vote to approve this memorandum of understanding, and to allow us to better serve the citizens of Ascension.
John, you have finished, Mike?
I don't really have anything to add other than it's, essentially we'll take on 2,300 square feet from the assessor's office in exchange for that building. They've agreed to take on the maintenance. It has a termination date, so it's not in perpetuity. As well as, we've said it a million times, we want to get out of the maintenance business. And so this brings our footprint by 2,500 square feet, basically.
Yeah. As we do take it on, we have agreed to take on the utilities maintenance repairs, and you're not going to be, we're not going to be coming to you to ask for money to do something at that building once we take it over.
And will you also pay for the construction to refit the building for your needs?
Yeah, it'd be all assessor's expense at that point for any renovations or, any work that is inside of it or
Okay.
outside. I mean, it's.
All right.
but-
Questions? Councilman Mason?
Actually, Mr. Diaz answered my question, but I move that we accept the.
I've got a
memorandum
question.
of understanding. Oh, sorry, Court.
Excuse me. Coach?
Just wanted to second the motion
Oh.
on Mace.
Councilman?
Well, I guess motion
Discussion.
second,
We have a
discussion.
motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilman Orgeron.
I see second paragraph of the document where it includes obligations of the parties. And first off, I want to thank you, I want to thank Mr. Smiley, and I want to thank the administration for heeding some of the concerns I had during the week regarding the initial contract that was presented to us. Obviously, that contract was a little short-sighted, and I'm glad we worked hard together to make that thing work best for all parties. But I am concerned with the statement where it says, "Parish grants the assessor sole use of the Clerk of Court office facility." I know in conversations with Mr. Smiley earlier that, and I know that in the beginning, initially, there was some discussion about the possibility of putting the Department of Veteran Affairs in that building along with you guys. Because obviously you're jumping into a much larger location. I was wondering if the assessor's office would object to an amendment to this particular ordinance, requesting the removal of the word sole use, so that in case the parties feel that there's a necessity to put somebody else in that building, and there is room, that we could do so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see where that would necessarily be an issue to remove sole use. It's just that we're gonna get into a situation where, we may not have, adequate space for any, you can't put a lot of people else in there, because if we add one or two more people, then we're gonna be
Understand,
in a problem.
if it looks
Yes.
like a clown car and you guys have legs and arms sticking out of windows, obviously, we're not gonna try to stick anybody else in there.
In other words, we didn't change anything. That's what I'm trying to say from today
Jumping over.
to moving forward in the future.
Okay. So with that being the case, if we don't have any objection from the administration, I would like to submit an amendment to this document to remove the term sole out of paragraph 2, subsection A.
Motion by Councilman Orgeron to remove the word sole from item 2A of the MOU. Do I hear a
I'll
second?
second that. I want to discuss it further.
Second by Councilman Lawler. Go ahead.
I have a question. Justin, one of the things I would like to see, and I'd like to see this from the administration, I think they're kind of looking into this also, is that in the future, we look to work from home situations. With the COVID-19 situation that we've had, a lot of companies have started allowing employees to work from home, which I can tell you is a great benefit to a lot of employees. And it also benefits your organization, our organization, everybody, because real estate costs, maintenance costs, energy costs are so high. So if we can move to a work situation where more and more people are working from home, I think that could lead to a situation which would solve Corey's problem. Veterans Affairs could move in there. Because I think a lot of the work that y'all do, a lot of the work our departments do could easily be done from home. I can tell you, if you've got small kids, it can be beneficial or it can be an absolute headache. But that's an individual by individual basis. So I'll second that motion, and I would like your department or your office and the administration to seriously look at who can work from home. Because right now we're seeing a lot of people that are doing it because they have to, and I know that some of these employees really enjoy it. So it'd be a benefit to them, it'd be a benefit to y'all. I think everybody could benefit from this. No further questions.
Any other discussion? Okay, so now we have a substitute motion to remove the word sole from section 2A under the memorandum of understanding. Any other discussion? Any objection? That motion carries.
Thank you,
Now we'll
Justin.
go back to the original motion, which I had a motion and a second to approve the MOU. as written with the amendment, removing sole in item 2A. And any other discussion? Councilman?
Do we have a motion on that already?
I had a
Okay, I
motion and a
missed it.
second.
Well,
correct.
thank y'all for working with us, by the
Thank
way.
you.
You did a good job.
Very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very
You
much.
and Merck both.
Thank y'all.
Okay. Any other discussion? Motion to adopt the memorandum of understanding, second. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Thank
Thank
you, Justin. And I want to thank Justin, the administration, and everybody, because I got in the middle of all this discussion, and it was a very good, lively discussion. I think everybody's going to be pleased with the outcome. All right, moving on to item J. Change order number 4 to contract with the Lemoyne Company for the new courthouse construction to include the addition of the council chambers for an additional amount of $1,751,652, contingent upon the adoption of the budget amendment on the June 18th, 2020 council meeting agenda. The new contract amount shall not exceed $29,434,921. Mr. Gasper Chafisi, project manager. Come on up, Gasper.
Councilman Cagle, I'm here to answer any questions that you have about this particular change order or about the project. The change order is to add the council chamber to the building.
And it's my understanding that this was agreed upon prior, that this is a good idea that we do this now.
It was.
And
It
instead
is
of-
a good idea.
Doing preparatory work, then we'd have to knock walls out and move things around. Councilman
Oh, no, you
Mason.
got me. That's what I was gonna say.
Okay.
It's cheaper to do it now.
I'll make the
Councilman Turner.
motion to approve.
I just want to say, we did go view it, me and Terry, Bridget, Judge Vertigets. Went seen it maybe about 2 weeks ago, and it's coming along nicely, and I do think it's gonna suit the needs of the parish and the judicial system for the parish.
Thank you so much. I got a motion by Councilwoman Casso,
Second.
second by Councilman Mason. Any further discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Thank you so much, Gasper. And we need to go look at that building. I need to make an appointment to go do that. Next is item K, amendment to the fire monitoring contract with River Parish Security Systems to include the following locations: Geismar VFD Station 80, $30 per month; Sorrento VFD Station 20, $30 per month;
So
Santa Mala
moved.
VFD Station 60, $30 per month. Josh Wingert, Fire District 1. Is Josh here? Hi, Josh, thank you.
Assistant, I'm actually the interim fire coordinator now. This is just to do the fire monitoring for the fire marshal for the 3 brand new stations. So it's where we just asked for y'all to help us out
So
with that.
moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Cazzo, second by Councilman Mason. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Item L, change order number 2, Total Energy Solutions Company LLC for preventive maintenance to stationary and mobile generators located at various locations around the parish to include a Kohler 100 kW model number 100 REOZJD, FD number 3, Station 34, located at 18345 Bluff Road, Prairieville, Louisiana, for an additional amount of $1,100 for a new not-to-exceed amount of $40,350.
Second.
Second by, motion by Councilwoman Cazzo, second by Councilman Mason. Any discussion? Any objection? So ordered. Item M, amendment number 1 to contract between Ascension Government and the Telecom Communications LLC to increase the contract amount by an additional $30,000 for a total contract not to exceed amount of $79,500. Brandon.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Finance
Thank you for
Committee. So due to the COVID epidemic or pandemic, we had to make some changes to our network infrastructure and our telephone infrastructure to allow 350-plus employees to work from home and communicate as if they were still in the office. So that the expense that we had to make for that, we're thinking is going to be reimbursable from FEMA. So we're just simply asking to get this additional funds added to the contract.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Cazo, second by Councilman Orgeron.
Oh, quick.
Councilman
Just a little,
Smaller. Discussion.
bookkeeping kind of thing. I'm looking at the amendment, and it says add 30,000 for 77,500.
Correct.
But the other says 79,500. I don't know which is correct. And it says Parish of Ascension for Ascension Parish Jail. On the amendment to professional services contract.
The 79 is correct.
79 is correct.
Yes.
79.5.
Is that something in the packet?
Yeah, and that was just a little bit of confusion.
Okay.
It looks like we may have to amend it then.
Well,
What are you looking at?
we'll amend it, we'll have the type, it must have been a typo.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just a typo. I'm looking at, it says, if you look at,
Yeah, under the amendment
Amendment
number one,
one.
professional services contract.
and on page 2 of there is the actual amendment. If you take a look at it, it says a contract not to exceed 77.5. So we
Should
have,
be 79.5.
and I don't know
correct.
why we have the jail on there.
So the $79 amount is correct.
I just want, if we pass it at 77.5, we could come back for $2,000, and that'd be a headache.
Sure.
I do have another quick question on this.
Yep.
The changes that we made, are these permanent changes to allow people from work from home?
Yes, so the majority of this was the phone system upgrade. And this also helps us, I had planned on budgeting next year to make to do this same upgrade, because there's some new 911 regulations that are coming out, so that whenever you call, like let's say you're at home and you're using your cell phone and you're calling out from what is actually your desk line at your office. But when you call 911, the 911 needs to know not to go to your office, that you're calling from your home. So this system allows us to make those changes and to be able to tell the 911 on the other end that, no, this person is calling from their home address and not from the office.
Very good, thank you. That's all the questions I have.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the amendment number one to the contract. Any further discussion? Any objection? There being none, so ordered. Item N, monthly contracts report for May 2020. Sandra Pereira. Thank you, Sandra.
Good evening. You each have before you a list of all the contracts that we entered into in the month of May. Oh, it's going back to March.
We don't want to go back to March.
No, I don't.
Please don't do that.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. If y'all have any questions, you'd like to try to answer.
Any questions by anybody? Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you.
Moving to item 6, finance reports. Item A, budget amendment number 2, approval to introduce ordinance to amend 2020 budget. Ms. Dawn.
Good evening. You have before you the ordinance for budget amendment number 2, which reads as follows. An ordinance to amend the ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating the 2020 operating and capital budgets for the Parish of Ascension adopted by the Ascension Parish Council on the 21st day of November 2019. Section 1. The Ascension Parish Council hereby ordains that the ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating the 2020 operating and capital budgets for the Parish of Ascension is hereby amended, approved, and appropriated as follows. Operating budget, general fund, revenues, ad valorem taxes, animal shelter, a credit of $1,442,000. Expenditures, appropriations, CARA, a credit of $350,000. Health unit, animal shelter. Revenues, miscellaneous revenues, animal shelter, intergovernmental, a credit of $40,000. Miscellaneous revenues, animal shelter, a credit of $500. Expenditures, salary exempt, credit of $61,500. Salaries non-exempt, a credit of $95,000. FICA tax expense, a credit of $12,000. Retirement, a credit of $12,000. Health, life, dental insurance, a credit of $38,000. Health savings account expense, a credit of $4,000. Workman's compensation insurance, a credit of $1,000. Utilities, a credit of $1,000. Telephone, a credit of $7,000. Equipment rentals, a credit of $4,000. Miscellaneous rentals, a credit of $500. Maintenance and supplies, vehicles and equipment, a credit of $5,000. Professional services, non-capital, a credit of $6,000. Dues and subscriptions, a credit of $500. Fire, casualty, and general liability insurance, a credit of $3,500. Vehicle and equipment insurance, a credit of $2,000. Office supplies, a credit of $6,000. Operating supplies, a credit of $35,000. Fuel, a credit of $7,000. Travel and training, a credit of $500. And miscellaneous expense, a credit of $2,000. The Animal Services Fund, and this is to establish the new fund. Revenues, ad valorem taxes, animal shelter, $1,442,000. Miscellaneous revenues, animal shelter, intergovernmental, $40,000. Miscellaneous revenues, animal shelter, $500. Expenditures and other financing uses. Salary exempt, $61,500. Salary non-exempt, $95,000. FICA tax expense, $12,000. Retirement, $12,000. Health, life, dental insurance, $38,000. Health savings account expense, $4,000. Workman's compensation insurance, $1,000. Utilities, $1,000. Telephone, $7,000. Equipment rentals, $4,000. Miscellaneous rentals, $500. Miscellaneous and supplies, vehicles and equipment, $5,000. Professional services, non-capital, $6,000. Dues and subscriptions, $500. Fire, casualty, and general liability insurance, $3,500. Vehicle and equipment insurance, $2,000. Office supplies, $6,000. Operating supplies, $35,000. Fuel, $7,000. Travel and training, $500. Appropriations and grants, $350,000. Major repairs buildings, $125,000. And miscellaneous expense, $2,000.
Okay, any questions?
Michael does.
I don't have a question. I just
Councilman
want to kind of, for those of the council members that don't know, I'm the council representative on the Animal Services Board. And we actually came up with this budget in one of our meetings before COVID-19. The money that we're giving or appropriating right now is a millage. Right now, it's already being voted on. We're just moving this money from the general fund to the special fund so that the animal services can have access to it and start utilizing these funds instead of basically going off the general fund as they are right now. The $350,000 for the appropriation and grants, that is the amount of money that we are contractually obligated right now to give Kara's House for their subsidy. The $120,000 for major repairs / buildings, $125,000, excuse me. That's the money we set aside because I don't know if any of y'all have been to the animal shelter lately, but it's not in great shape. So we want to set aside some money to make sure we can try to get that building up to snuff and get it operating well. So this is not anything, like I said, but this is a voted on tax. You guys, most of y'all were here for that whenever we passed it. So this is just to move the money from the general fund to the special fund.
That's correct, and as Councilman Mason said, this ordinance will create the new Animal Services Fund.
Correct.
And we have to do that in order to appropriate money to it, and then it'll be up to the Animal Services Board to come up with, the budget is a moving document. It's something that they can get started with. Obviously, they're gonna have more revenue with 1.4 million. I think the total expenses right now is like 800,000, if I'm not wrong. So it's going to be a challenge for the Animal Services Board, once we adopt this ordinance and create the fund, to come back to us with a more detailed budget.
I also want to say too, so all this money does not add up. If you look at all these line items, it doesn't add up to 1.442 million. There is a remainder, and we actually said that the remainder of this money that's not going to be allocated to anything specific will go into basically a building fund so we can try eventually to build a new animal shelter. Yes, sir.
Good. Okay. Councilman Law.
Yeah, I have a question about that, since you're here, if you don't mind me asking, like, about how much are we putting towards that? Because that was one of the goals with passing this millage, is that we build something.
Based on the numbers, we kind of looked at, it's roughly about $500,000
Okay.
annually that we're going to put towards the new building fund.
Yeah, I'd love to see if we could actually look at, finding the property and bonding that money out so we can get it done sooner rather than later.
That is in talks. I don't know how much, like, we're potentially looking at some places. I know Lamar Dixon has come up to potentially move it over there. So once everything kind of gets finalized, I'll do a presentation to the council so you guys will know everything. I'll keep everybody up to date on it.
Thank you, Councilman.
You're welcome.
Councilman Ogeron.
Mr. Mason, had your board gotten to us a little sooner, We had a building at 815 East Worthy Street that that might have been useful.
Well, the problem is we need a large facility because we have a few animals at the shelter, and I don't know if they would just be running around those offices. I don't know if that would look really well.
Just a thought.
I appreciate the thought.
Good. Any other discussion?
I'd like to move that we accept
Second.
Introduce it,
Introduce
ordinance
it,
at the next
yes.
council meeting?
That, yes.
We have a motion and a second to introduce the ordinance at the next full council meeting. Any further discussion? Any objection? There being none, motion passes. Thank you, Dawn. Appreciate that. Item B, revenue and expenditure report. Amanda?
Oh, sorry, which reflects 33.33% of the year. The format of the financial report has changed from the last one that was presented. We are now reporting on all funds, and we break it down by 5 categories, comparing the 2019 year-to-date actual to 2020 year-to-date actuals for April 2020, as well as showing the 2020 budget and the percent of budget at this time. In comparing 2019 year-to-date to 2020 year-to-date for April, as of April for revenue, general fund is increased by 7.7%. Special revenue funds are decreased by 5.02%. Debt service revenue funds are increased by 0.23%. Enterprise funds are increased by 9.88%, and capital project funds are increased by 19.86%. Comparing to the budget, as of April year-to-date revenues for operating funds are at 29.08% of the budget. Capital project funds are at 14.38% of the budget, and a total of all funds are at 27.03% of the budget at 33% of the year. The funds highlighted in green are funds under the budget for revenue by 5% or more, and on page 3 of the report, there's an explanation for each of those funds highlighted. Page 2 of the report gives you a comparison 19 to 20, just in a chart format by the 5 different categories. Page 3 of the report is the explanation of the funds on 1. Then on page 4 is comparing 2019 year-to-date to 2020 year-to-date for expenditures. It's in the same format. The only different exception is there's an added column for encumbrances. And encumbrances are obligations that are authorized either in the form of a purchase order or a contract. General fund increased by 8.92% compared 19 to 20. Special revenue funds are increased by 0.32%. Debt service funds are increased by 7.10%. Enterprise funds are increased by 11.93%. Capital project funds are increased by 66.47%. Total year, April 2020 year-to-date expenditures plus encumbrances for operating are at 29.22%. Capital project funds are at 40.06%. And total of all funds for expenditures plus encumbrances are at 33.64% at 33.33% of the year. Funds highlighted in green are funds over the budget by 5% or more, and on page 6 there's a listing reflecting the explanation for those funds. On page 5 is the chart, just a chart format comparing 19 to 20 year-to-date as of April for the 5 categories. And the last page of the report, no, second to last page of the report, I'm sorry, is the cash and investment position of the parish, and your, as of April 30th, 2020, total cash was $278,936,133. Of that, $247,995,282 is restricted. $30,940,852 is unrestricted. Compared to 2019, the total was $278,174,663. Restricted was $248,115, and unrestricted was $29,820,548. The report also breaks down what is restricted, the funds that are unrestricted and restricted. And then there's just a chart comparing the two at the bottom. And then the last page is just a graph showing restricted and unrestricted in a pie chart.
Okay, any questions? Okay, thank you so much, Amanda, appreciate it. Before I get to item 7, I'd like to just take a few minutes to reflect on the bullet we dodged. Tropical storm Cristobal, I think they pronounce it, but I just wanted to compliment the staff, administration, DPW, OEP. I mean, folks, they kept me, and I'm sure else up here, and I can speak for those who are absent, they kept us very informed, kept us in the loop. And I think where we made tremendous advances in this particular event, we were prepared. I think the Ascension Parish was prepared better than they had been in a long time. We had assets in place, we had personnel in place, ready to do whatever was necessary to minimize the effect of this storm. And that's a comforting feeling going forward that, let's face it, folks, this is June the 9th, and we've had 3 named storms this season already. So that gives me some concern going forward because we're in this till November, right? So my thanks and appreciation to all those involved in really staying on top of this event and having things in control. Any other comments? I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Councilwoman Cazzo, second by Councilman Mason. We are adjourned.
Objection.